The nightmare reaches its grisly end as Lila and Ben struggle for survival against the horrors lurking within the house's walls. Will they escape, or will they become part of the house's twisted collection? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on all our socials for more horrifying stories. Lila and Ben huddled together, trembling as the walls seemed to pulse, closing in around them with each sinister whisper. The air grew thick, laced with a sickly, metallic smell that made them gag. They turned their phones' dim screens toward each other's faces, desperate to see something, anything that might lead them out. But the screens only flickered, glitching with horrifying images of torn, rotting faces that seemed to look back at them, mouths twisted in agony. A soft, wet squelch sounded beneath their feet. Lila looked down, barely able to make out a dark, oozing liquid pooling around her shoes. She lifted her foot, and the smell hit her. A foul, putrid stench of decay. The floor was bleeding, a thick, viscous sludge seeping up through the cracks in the warped wood. Suddenly, a violent shudder rippled through the walls. Thin, bony hands burst through the wallpaper, gripping and tearing at them, pulling at their clothes and hair. One hand latched onto Ben's arm, its nails digging into his flesh, ripping through muscle with a strength that defied reason. He screamed as Lila tried to pull him away, but more hands clawed out from the walls, scratching and peeling their skin like paper. Ben's voice rose in a high, desperate scream as one of the hands gripped his face, fingers pressing into his eyes, gouging deep until blood poured down his cheeks. He fell to the floor, thrashing as the walls consumed him, inch by inch, pulling him into the very structure of the house. His screams echoed, fading, until only a faint, distant whisper remained. "Help me." Lila staggered backward, horror blinding her as the hands reached for her next. She tried to run, but the floor split open beneath her and she fell hard, landing in a crawl space filled with what felt like bone and decayed flesh. Desperate, she crawled through the darkness, her fingers sinking into the spongy, decaying remains of countless others. A light flickered ahead. For a brief moment, hope surged in her chest as she reached out toward it, pulling herself forward, inch by inch, leaving a trail of blood and despair behind her. But as she neared the light, her heart dropped. There, reflected in a cracked, blood-smeared mirror at the end of the crawl space, she saw her own face, dead, eyes lifeless, mouth open in a silent scream, and in the mirror's reflection she saw the house, waiting, watching. A cold whisper filled her ear, colder than the grave itself. "You're home now. Forever." And as the mirror shattered, trapping her image within, the house stood quiet once again, waiting for the next souls it would claim.